And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show, Wednesday, February 11th, and we've got a monster on our hands. For some reason, though, we have 14 games overall today. That's fun, right? Like, we're all happy. We want a lot of basketball games. This makes perfect sense to me. We should have a ton of basketball, and we want to see a ton of basketball, and we got those 14 games for today. However, one tiny note with regards to today's schedule, we don't actually have 14 games on the main. We have 13. They cut the 10 o'clock Spurs-Warriors game off. We have 3 games locking at 9. It's not the craziest thing in the world, but like, why not just have them all at that point? If you're gonna have 13 through 9 o'clock, just have 14 through 10 o'clock. But that's not really that important. All but 2 teams play today. I know one of them is the Lakers. I legitimately don't know what the other one is. Let me look and see if I could figure it out quickly. Boston, Cavs, Bulls, Detroit. I don't know who it is. You guys probably know who it is. Doesn't matter. 14 games, 28 of the 30 teams playing today. That is what we have on our hands today. It's the Pacers? No, it's not. Good try, though. Good try. They play today. So we got a lot to break down. We've got 3 games locking at 7. We've got 4 games locking at 7:30. So 7 games out of the 13 game slate are locked in the first 30 minutes of the slate. We then get 3 more 8s and 3 more 9s. Gonna be a lot, guys. Going to be a lot. So this should be of no surprise. 13 game slate. Infinite news to wait on. We're going to set the table. We're going to walk our way through every one of these games, the teams, what they've got going on, what you should be paying attention to for the rest of the day, leading up to Live Before Lock later tonight. FanDuel's a 10-gamer. They didn't include the... So FanDuel's got a smaller slate than DraftKings today. Interesting. Not Toronto. Guys, we don't have to guess. Do I need to just figure this out for my own sanity before you guys just keep naming teams? There you go. It's the Mavs. Thank you, Greg. All right. We have so much to talk about, so many teams to discuss. Let's dive into it right out of the gate. And we want to remember that we want to talk about this from a slate perspective, a league perspective, etc. Charlotte Hornets, 5.5-point favorites at home, taking on the Atlanta Hawks, 232 total. Great total for this one. No Kuminga for the Hawks. Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Risachet, all questionable. Okongwu available. Only Kobe White, that's relevant, out for the Hornets. So, great DFS spot. Potentially a ton of value on the Atlanta side. We already just got this recently, and some of them were okay. Shout out Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I wish they would break these 13-game slates into 2 slates. Yeah, definitely not that. I mean, there's nothing to say that they can't just have good turbo slates, but you should want as many as possible. That will make it better for you. So the Atlanta news will swing everything. We've got 100 minutes, basically, up in the air for Atlanta. That will change dramatically what the value picture looks like for Atlanta. For Charlotte, my assumption is that we're not even looking at them. Unless all of these dudes get suspended. We have to get that official word yet as well. That will be important. It's coming eventually, whether it happens today or tomorrow or whatever. Now, we're going with the assumption these guys are not going to be in. And that's what you can see on the screen right now. But we have to get all of this information. First, realistically, there could be... They could fight suspensions, potentially. I don't think we'll see that as much on the Charlotte side. But no Bridges on here. No Diabate on here. And yet, might not really get much out of this Charlotte side. LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Con Knipple getting some love. They probably benefit more from Bridges not being around. But so many of these extra guys from Charlotte aren't very good coming from the bench. Like Josh Green, 0.61 fantasy points per minute. Zion James, 0.66. You know, Kalkbrenner's going to get the opportunity to play a couple extra minutes, but I don't think he's going to drown in them. Tijan Salon is like sort of a thing, but I think we're going to have a lot of those dudes. Grant Williams is not going to be the most efficient value option we'll find. We got to remember, with this many games on the slate, we're going to have guys that are in the 3Ks that are playing minutes similar to Grant Williams, and they're just going to be better than 0.85 fantasy point per minute dudes. So, like, yes, are those guys on the table? Are there minutes to go around in Charlotte? There are. But I don't think this is going to be where our, like, primary value ends up, unless we get more people out. So Salon is probably the guy that I would have my eye on the most in this one. Flat 3K, power forward eligibility. Could play the 4, could play the 5 here. He's probably the guy that I think is most interesting. The Atlanta side, it's not like one. We just saw this with a bunch of the dudes out, but depending on the status of Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, and Reese Shea, it changes everything we do here. So we need this info. We don't know who's going to be officially playing for Atlanta. On the surface, the main dudes from Charlotte, LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Con Knipple, probably the guys you're paying attention to most here. And then, I mean, realistically, the biggest part of this is we need this actual information on the Detroit and Charlotte guys. Game 2. Whew, this one's... What is this line if this doesn't break this way? Wizards, Cavs. The Cavs are 17.5 point favorites, 239 total. No Dean Wade or Evan Mobley. If Evan Mobley plays in this game, it might be 20. He's probably pretty close to a 2.5 point swing there. Something in the neighborhood at least. So no Dean Wade, no Mobley for the Cavs. Clearly no Anthony Davis or Trae Young for the Wiz. Anthony Gill, not so important. Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, both questionable. So that works. We're going to have to wait on some Wizards nonsense. But we also have a Cleveland Cavaliers team that is expected to just bludgeon these dudes. And while we might be able to free up a little bit of additional value later, one thing we're not seeing here is interest in anything. There's absolutely no ownership coming into Cleveland or Washington. 9% to James Harden is the most we're seeing right now. We might be able to be a little interesting. We might be able to find something a little interesting in Washington if Coulibaly and George both end up out. We're talking about, something in the neighborhood of 50 minutes. But right now, the most owner... We only have 3 guys getting more than 1% ownership in this game. Harden, Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell. And that's how I see it as well. You want to roster those guys, by all means. Soft-ass matchup. One of them is probably going to be great. Those are the guys you want to go to. I don't see another one that you would want to go to. I think this game is an absolute wasteland until we get the Keyshawn George Koulibaly data. And at that point, it's just going to make more Grant Williamses, if we know what we're talking about. Freudian slip. You are advocating, it's 100% just you. You're advocating for making all of this harder. You should want everything that you're advocating against right now. You shouldn't want injury news and lineups 90 minutes before the game. You shouldn't want smaller slate. All of those are worse for you. In order to be more successful in DFS, you should want the opposite of everything you're asking for. Huge slates spread out through the entire night with as little information as possible. Because then you can actually do something about it. Now, if you want more 4 and 5 game slates with all of the news, all you're doing is just turning this into a shell game. Everybody's just going to move around money, and DraftKings and FanDuel profit. Now, they're going to profit one way or the other, but we're going to bleed out. Get the extremes. The more extremes, the more nonsense info that's out there, the more likely you are to take that money from people that don't know how to get that information. If you're watching this show, at the very least, you're a half step ahead of a large majority of people. So yeah, as of now, I don't anticipate we talk very much about Cleveland and Washington as an interesting NBA game today. My best cashes have always come from 6 and 7 game slates and little ambiguity around injuries and lineups. You don't want my answer to that. You really don't. The Milwaukee Bucks are 10.5 point underdogs in Orlando. 220 total. Nothing on the Orlando injury report. Giannis out. Pete Nance, questionable. This one should be pretty easy to talk about. One thing's for certain. You are likely not going to be playing much of the Orlando Magic. Whether that's Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, Anthony Black, Franz Wagner is back, Paolo is here. These guys just played last time out. You want to take a run on one of those guys? I don't love it, but they're certainly reasonable contrarian options. The only guy that's really getting any love in this game is KPJ, 7,900, point guard, shooting guard eligible. Scares the hell out of me now that Cam Thomas is there. This whole team scares me. It's just a bunch of guys that don't play defense, whether it's KPJ, whether it's Kuzma, whether it's Portis, whether it's Cam Thomas. I'm not expecting to see a ton here. The KPJ ownership will make me nervous. I don't know how you prioritize anything from Orlando. And I realistically can't advocate for anything from Milwaukee outside of KPJ. Like Ryan Rollins, 0.2% optimal, 12% boom rate. Jalen Suggs, Bane, Black, Banchero, they're going to look like 100 other dudes today. Steven, I agree. There's upside there. We're just going to have so many dudes that look like Jalen Suggs, where it's just like, well, how do I pick between that? Suggs is certainly going to be busy with the sea of guards they have. A $6,400 price tag on Desmond Bane, I don't hate that either, but everybody else is in, and he seems to be the odd man out offensively when that's the case. But right now, it seems like it's KPJ and nothing else. And even then, a lot of downside risk in getting to Milwaukee. There are obviously going to be some spots that we touch on that are way more important. Let's talk about this one. A lot of injuries still here for Chicago. Bulls are 2 touchdown dogs in Boston, 224 total. Cada in, Sam Hauser in for Boston. Zach Collins still out for Chicago. Jalen Smith, doubtful. Josh Giddey, doubtful. Trey Jones, doubtful. Now, we've had a lot of Bulls dudes out lately. And I definitely need to make an update to our projections. I must have fat-fingered Patrick Williams into 39 minutes. Not ideal. That was not supposed to be 39 minutes now that I'm seeing it. Sometimes these guys don't stand out when there's fucking 28 teams to look at. So the optics of that, the ownership number is going to be optically a little bit more correct here than what I have in for optimal. We'll get that corrected before or when I leave the show. But we do know that Chicago is going to be extra special shorthanded. I mean, look at what we have here. Patrick Williams, Rob Dillingham, Sexton, Simons, Nick Richards. Now, we don't have a ton of ownership. Patrick Williams is probably going to be the guy that leads out a little bit further just because he has a forward MPE sub 4K. Dillingham getting a little bit of love as a potential value option at 3,900. I don't really mind those that much. I certainly think there's some sort of ceiling in Sexton or Simons. I just think the toughest thing about Chicago is figuring out who it's going to be. So many of these dudes are like basically the same guy. Rob Dillingham, fantasy point per minute. Colin Sexton, a little bit more than that, but 5,100. Simons, a fantasy point per minute. Jaden Ivey, a fantasy point per minute. These guys are all the same guy. That's what I think makes it really difficult. You know, you want to take a swing on a Nick Richards in a spot like this. I could see it. But one, it's just a terrible spot in general. We do have the interesting Anthony Simons versus Vooch revenge narrative alert in this one. Sure. I'm not sure we want much here. I would argue that something like Jaylen Brown at 9,800, shooting guard small forward eligible, is a bit more interesting today as a contrarian payout. We're going to have a ton of value. We're not going to have any issue whatsoever paying up today. Guard forward eligibility in a matchup against this Bulls team, it's going to take a lot for Jaylen Brown. I mean, realistically, you're probably hoping for in and around 60 fantasy points for him, 55 at a minimum. I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see it happen here against the Bulls. I like the Jaylen Brown price tag infinitely more than I like the Derek White price tag. I got a tough time wanting to go to Peyton Pritchard if I can grab some of these Bulls rando guards. So as I look at it, it will be Patrick Williams as a mild value option. Dillingham will look like a value option. And I like Jaylen Brown a bit as a pay up to be contrarian option. There's a lot of variance in that number. I kind of want to see it. Okay, next one up. One of the few games that we legitimately can't talk about yet, at least on one of these sides. Indiana Pacers, Brooklyn Nets. You want to know how bad the Pacers are right now? They are 5.5 point dogs to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn doesn't have the only guy on their team that's actually good in Michael Porter Jr. MPJ out for Brooklyn. Nick Claxton is questionable. Noah Clowney probable. But we don't have an injury report for the Pacers. They played yesterday, and allegedly, they are not going to be playing some of their dudes today. So I could try to show you guys this if possible, but it's going to be kind of tough since they don't have designations. We don't think we're going to be seeing Andrew Nembhard, Pascal Siakam. We're looking at a projected starting lineup right now of Quentin Jackson, Cam Jones, Jarris Walker, Kobe Brown, and Jay Huff. Doesn't seem like we're going to be seeing any of the main dudes today for the Pacers. And that, my friends, is going to be a problem. So, do not get married to these numbers. We don't know the data. The minutes are certainly going to look at least a little weird, but Michael Potter is 3,600 power forward center eligible. They don't have that many dudes. Like, they might have 9 tonight. If Michael Potter gets anywhere north of like 26 minutes, he's 50% owned. Quentin Jackson, my nuke of the night from last night, which came through, by the way, 3,800, shooting guard, small forward eligible. In 28 minutes, he projects for 60% ownership. If Jarris Walker is in, he's at 50% ownership. We're going to have to figure out what to do with Kobe Brown, who's actually a decent per minute guy at 3,500. What do we do with Jay Huff and Micah Potter? Are they going to split 48 minutes? Or are they just going to play a ton? That would be interesting. Do one of these guards, like Ethan Thompson or Talon Peter, end up popping? I don't know. But what I do know is this. We haven't talked about a game like this yet on the show. This right here, assuming we're right about Indy, and I see my boy DK in chat right now saying Pacers probably resting all their main guys. We are on the same page here, my friend. We're going to be getting a boatload of the Indiana Pacers tonight. Don't make your decisions yet. Just know that you need to be here. Whether it's Potter, Jackson, Walker, some of these other guys, this is probably the most important place on the slate as of right now. That's where we're at. And who knows what other nonsense these guys pull today. If we're lucky, they just deal with it early. We're going to have a ton of weird news. I mean, yesterday they had 1,000 Q tags throughout the whole day. I hope they don't pull that shit today too. But ultimately, you're just going to get a ton of Pacers. There's also the Brooklyn side of this game. Reminder, no Michael Porter Jr. and potentially no Nick Claxton. Danny Wolf, 4% owned right now. If we're going to get to anything here, I think we could all agree it's going to happen on the back of Nick Claxton not being in, at which point we might be able to unlock a bit of a $5,200 day round sharp. But there is absolutely no ownership coming into Brooklyn right now. I find them to be an incredibly difficult team to roster, just based on the way they run their rotations. So unless we get Claxton out, this is going to be a massive, massive Indiana Pacers day. I love this spot. It's going to be great. Like, some of these are going to be easy. If we're right and Nesmith, Nembhard, Siakam just don't play, I wouldn't be surprised to have 100% of Quentin Jackson. Like, you know, I'm not saying that it would absolutely happen, but guard forward, sub 4K and all the minutes you could want against Brooklyn, absolutely happening. Potter, 3,600 with the power forward eligibility. Those guys are just going to be massively owned and should be. There's no way to avoid that. It gets a little scarier when you start going to someone like Jarris Walker, who already has a real salary. But I'm going to keep my eye on Kobe Brown. I want to put a pin in that name for now. Not showing with much ownership. Low 20s in minutes. We got him in at a little over 21. $3,500 small forward. He seems like he's going to get slept on. But this could all change. I don't want to make any proclamations. I want to say that if we see him be around 20-something minutes like he is right now, keep an eye on him for later. All right. We keep it moving. Again, there's so much to talk about for this. Like, don't forget to hit the like button, guys. You know how much that helps out. Knicks and Sixers. So the Knicks are on the back-to-back. They were missing some bodies yesterday. No OG Anunoby. Obviously, Miles McBride out for ages. Mitchell Robinson didn't play yesterday. Paul George suspended. Dom Barlow Q-tag. Joel Embiid Q-tag. Quentin Grimes Q-tag. Tough to break this one down out of the gate, obviously. But we can at least hypothesize here a little bit in that if they all happen to be in, this game stinks. This game is a lot of Jaylen Browns. Like, if Embiid plays, if everybody's in, Embiid is the highest owned guy in this game at 8%. So whether you want to get Embiid, Towns, Maxey, I guess Brunson, but he's 9,100. All of these guys are viable Jaylen Brown style pivots. The way we get to this game is if Anunoby is out once again, some combination of Barlow, Grimes, Embiid don't play. Like, if Embiid doesn't play, that starts to get pretty fun, but who knows? I expect him to play. But this game has a lot up in the air and very little that can be said right now. Could we find value? Maybe. Like, if we don't have Anunoby again, it does free up 30-something minutes. I don't know where they go. I mean, on the surface, I probably like Towns' price the most here. Bridges, in a weird way, is just in my head. He shouldn't be 0.07 optimal rate. But unless we get wholesale injury news, we're just not going to be here. This isn't going to be a game that's all that popular unless we lose some of this stuff. I wish I had more to say about that game. It's just, to me, I mean, when you have 90 questionable minutes and a and a non-injury report on the opposite side, that one gets saved for later. Pistons Raptors. Ron Holland out for the Pistons. No Colin Murray-Boyles for the Raptors, but Jakob Poeltl questionable for this one. And we also have newly minted All-Star, what a joke, by the way, Brandon Ingram. So a little bit to talk about here. Raptors 1.5 point dogs, 222 total. I think it should be obvious what's happening here, but maybe it's not. We do have some ownership, and this one is going to be up in the air right now. Do we get the news about suspensions? If we do, then we aren't going to have Isaiah Stewart or Jalen Duren, and it's going to be a Paul Reed day. And that is how we have it in here right now. $5,500 Paul Reed getting 30 minutes, massively owned. We've got a much higher optimal rate, but again, there's so much up in the air that there's some, like, don't pay too close attention to some of these rates out of the gate. What we can do is this. Assuming the suspensions come out today, Paul Reed will be the starter for the Detroit Pistons and will be popular. But $5,500 is a real price tag. We're not getting a $3,800 Paul Reed today. But he's obviously going to be great. Cade looks solid in this spot at 10-2. I mean, honestly, kind of just another Jaylen Brown. Not a priority, but a guy you can pay up for, and we have infinite value to handle it. After that, I'm not confident we really play anything here. I think there's a case to be made for Mamu. If we don't have Jakob Poeltl. But who knows? But I think there's a case for Mamu at 5,400 at no ownership. I think Karis LeVert could be mildly sneaky given his price tag. But again, well, Sylvester, you might want to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Colin Murray-Boyles already out. But, you know, you could roster him if you want. I don't think FanDuel's doing the drop score anymore, though. I don't really see anything here outside of Paul Reed and Cade. If we don't have Jakob Poeltl, I don't think it's crazy to go to Mamu, especially in a matchup against Paul Reed, who's clearly going to pull more ownership. It's one I want to pay attention to. But I like it. But again, the most important part of all of this is we actually need these guys to be suspended. Otherwise, there's nothing here. And that much we already know. But the highest owned Raptor right now is RJ Barrett at 3. We're just not going this direction. I don't see Scotty Barnes the same way I see Jaylen Brown and some of these other payups. The focus for Detroit is Paul Reed and Cade Cunningham. So obviously this one's going to be a little tough to talk about. The LA Clippers, 9.5 point underdogs in Houston, 208 total. And just in case you're curious, the Clippers and the Rockets played yesterday in Houston. Now today, they play in Houston. The fact that this game has the total that it does, like we didn't like it yesterday on a 4-gamer. What do you think this one looks like today? 7% ownership to a questionable Kawhi Leonard. Otherwise, there's essentially no ownership here at all. It should be pretty obvious what's interesting here for this game. It's not going to be on the Houston side unless we get news. But what if Kawhi doesn't play today? That's going to make John Collins look very different. That's going to make Benedict Mathurin look very different. It's going to make guys like Jordan Miller, Kobe Sanders look different. Now, I assume he plays. While it is a back-to-back, there's no travel involved. They're already there. But it's Kawhi Leonard. I trust nothing. And if Kawhi Leonard doesn't play, that could be a spot that we open up here. Because no one else can do a damn thing on the Clippers at this moment. Benedict Mathurin is certainly going to think that he can. I want to keep my eye on that. As long as these guys have comparable availabilities today, like if Şengün is in, Durant's in, Thompson's in, and Kawhi's in, we're not going here. This was an unpopular game on a 4-gamer. What do you think it's going to look like on a back-to-back of 13 games? This game might as well not be on the slate as it's constituted. We need wholesale dudes out to unlock anything in this game. Again, 208 total. Doesn't get much worse than that. Next 8 o'clock game on the docket, Minnesota, Portland. Wolves are at full strength. Blazers, no Shaedon Sharpe. We're kind of used to these guys at this point. I mean, Minnesota, it'd be hard for us to be more used to these dudes. 10% ownership to Julius Randle, 10% ownership to Anthony Edwards. Nobody else in the entire game more than 3. Not a lot to work with here. Does Anthony Edwards look like Jaylen Brown to me today? Sure does. Happy to play Ant. Do I have any issue getting to Julius Randle? No, I don't. I think there's at least a little bit of sneak in a Drew Holiday or a Rudy Gobert. Probably don't want to work my way down all that much further. Jaden McDaniels, probably underrepresented, but is also useless. Welcome back, Scoot, I guess. But to me, this is Randall and Ant. There's not a lot here. Are you going to get some Holiday, some Gobert, some of the main dudes that play 30 minutes? Of course. Are there priorities? Nope. Is Io going to close for this team? Probably not all that frequently. He can, but I would not expect that to be regular. Kind of depends on who the best player is on the opposite team. I think you're more likely to see him out there in a game where they have like a really good guard creator. But like, Ant's going to be out there. McDaniels is going to be out there. And that two of the three of Randall, Gobert, and Reed are going to be out there. I think they're more likely to have DiVincenzo out there than Ayo Dosunmu. But he'll close sometimes. Miami Heat, New Orleans Pelicans. No Norm Powell for Miami. No Pelle Larsson for Miami. No Tyler Hero for Miami. Andrew Wiggins is questionable. For the Pelicans, Micah Peavy questionable. Otherwise, everybody else is in for New Orleans. Obviously, a massive pace matchup here. Kel'el Ware, $5,100 center, moved into the starting lineup again alongside Bam Adebayo last time out. 15% owned. Keep Kel'el Ware in mind in this one today. Minutes won't necessarily be there, but he's going to look very interesting in comparisons to guys like Paul Reed. I've got at least a little bit of interest in Ware. There's certainly a minute ceiling where when it goes well, he plays 30. Only other guy getting any love in this one is Trey Murphy, the $8,200 point guard only Trey Murphy. As a reminder, not at all what his position is, but whatever. That lack of flexibility actually hurts him quite a bit. I don't know how you go to Bam, although he's the third most popular guy here. I do think there's some interesting, flyer dudes on Sadiq Bey at no ownership. If Wiggins is out, Fontecchio will be interesting. I think a 6K Derek Queen could be a little sneaky in this one. Probably not somebody you play a ton of. Zion could be at least a little sneaky in this one, given the possessions. But to me, it's the guy at the top of the list. I think there's a lot of upside in Ware. I think he's the type of guy that can slip through the cracks on a day where there's a lot of value. Because realistically, Anthony Edwards downgraded to questionable. That just happened. Keep an eye. But I think Ware is going to get slept on. We're going to have all this info and value pop up randomly. But this is a guy that is likely to start and has a 30-minute upside when it's working. And I don't think that's going to get utilized as much as it should. Is there downside here? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem like Spo loves the guy. Kel'el Ware kind of feels like he's Jaime Jaquez from last year. But he could play 30 minutes tonight and you wouldn't be surprised. That's the guy I want to keep my eye on in that game. Then finally, we get to the 3 9 o'clock games to close out this main slate. Reminder, they're not on the FanDuel end. OKC, 7.5 point favorites in Phoenix. No AJ Mitchell, no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, no Thomas Sorber. Big day for Nikola Topic in the G League yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it. And then no injury report for Phoenix. So clearly a little tricky. But it is an OKC team that does not have Shai. But do you guys see the ownership in this game right now? 217 total. The highest owned guy in Oklahoma City, Phoenix, is 1.7% owned Devin Booker. There's not a single player in this game that has a boom rate north of 20. If we get a normal Phoenix injury report and there are no changes to the Thunder, this is the worst game that you can get to today, bar none. Now, it's a 9 o'clock start, so you can hide some ownership here and move it around if you need to. And maybe if the chalk busts early, this becomes like a more interesting spot. But right now, There is no game that looks worse. Devin Booker is 1.00% optimal. Everyone else is below that. There is nothing here unless we get Phoenix news that has nobody in. Because no matter what we think about the OKC offense, this defense is still the nuts. Chet Holmgren is here. Isaiah Hartenstein is here. Caruso is here. Dort is here. Jalen Williams with a Y. Jalen Williams without a Y. Cason Wallace. This is a terrible spot across the board. You do not want this game unless we get changes. It's the worst one on the slate by far. And then we get this one, which will barely resemble NBA basketball. The Utah Jazz are 6.5-point favorites at home, 231 total. If these guys were up 6 heading into the fourth quarter, how could you even trust that? So, the Sacramento Kings will be sitting DeAndre Hunter, Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook, and Zach LaVine. In case you're curious, those are the 6 names that you do know on the Kings. For the Jazz, no Keontae George. Lauri Markkanen, though, available. Originally ruled out for rest yesterday. Then we got the report that he is available for rest today. This is awful. Awful. But if we want to circle back to... Where is it at? I already forgot. Freudian slip. This is why you don't cut those games off. These are the spots you make more money. So Sacramento is going to be getting a little bit of ownership. Now, some of these guys are starting to see their prices climb. These guys were free 2 days ago. Devin Carter now 4,500, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% owned. Point guard, shooting guard eligible. Don't know how you don't do this. I don't know how you avoid it. Dylan Cardwell, Max and Max Reynaud, 5,300 and 5K respectively. Both around 20% owned. Both going to play a sizable chunk of minutes. Dylan Cardwell, really nice rim protection, by the way. Nick Clifford, 5,500, shooting guard, small forward eligible. Great flexibility. Solid enough per minute, dude. 10% owned right now against Utah. I will happily take more Nick Clifford here. Maybe I don't have it by the time we get to lock, but holy hell, I want more of it. As of this moment, the Jazz are unowned. I think there are certainly some places you can get weird with these guys. Maybe Isaiah Collier plays all 48 minutes. Who the hell knows? Craziness here, guys. You're going to have a lot of this. I want to have more than what I see, including more of Utah. I am going to be scared as hell of doing that. But it's very, very difficult getting away from Sacramento today. They're sitting everybody that you know. Everybody. And I don't think it would be nuts if Utah adds more people throughout the day. Rich, you are correct. Holy hell, I want more Nick Clifford is definitely not something I thought I would say at the start of the season. Mostly because I wouldn't have known who Nick Clifford was. That's probably the bigger problem. But if they're going to sit Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, DeRozan, Sabonis, fucking DeAndre Hunter, and somebody else that I don't remember, Keegan Murray, yeah, you're just going to get a lot of this against Utah. This is the exact opposite of that OKC game. We're going to talk a lot about what we can get to from Sacramento today. And I think we might be able to see something we like from Utah, although so many of these prices are already up that we're probably not going to go that direction. And that closes us out. The final game of the night, the Denver Nuggets, 2 touchdown favorites at home against Memphis. No Brandon Clark, no Ja Morant, no Santi Aldama. Doubtful tags on Cedric Coward and Walter Clayton. The Nuggets are without Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson, plus Spencer Jones is questionable. But Christian Brown, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, all available. Yeah, we get Nikola Jokic on a slate with infinite value in a matchup they're hugely favored in. Nikola Jokic, $12,200 and 48% owned, plus 36% optimal. Whatever you want to think those numbers are, it should not be all that hard to figure out that Nikola Jokic is very clearly the number one pay-up option. We have all of the value in the world to get to him. And we're not even complicated by Paul Reed having like a broken price tag. We've got guard and forward value out the ass. There's absolutely no way to get away from Nikola Jokic tonight. At the very least, you should have him heading into lock if you're playing multiple lineups. Maybe I get off of it as we're late swapping, but I'm not super sweating it. I don't mind what I get out of Jokic. He is so clearly the top play today, it's not even funny. And then realistically, there's probably some value you can pick off from Memphis, but they're also going to scare the shit out of you because you can't trust these guys playing time at all. But look at the pay-up options we have today. Nikola Jokic at 12-2. It's close to 50% owned. The next closest guy to him is $1,500 below him in Jalen Johnson, and we don't know if he's playing. We don't know if Kawhi is playing. We don't know if Joel Embiid is playing. That's 3 of the top 4 guys that aren't Jokic. If Jalen Johnson is out, Jokic is going to project for more than 10 points more than anybody else on the slate. But look at the ownership for everybody that isn't Jokic. 15, 10, 7, 8, 9, 9, 5, 5, 4, 1, 1, 2. There's nothing here. If you're not rostering Nikola Jokic, you're picking like a random dude to pay up for otherwise. As of right now, I find this all very interesting. Look at the boom rates here. 28, 27, 28, 27, 25, 24. All these guys are like 8% owned. If you've got a stand you like today on a payout, you can control that as much as you want today. Realistically, I want to get Jokic plus another name that I see here. But we'll see how easy that is to do once we get there. I would be remiss if I didn't talk one quick second about what the optimal looks like to start the day. That's going to be Cade, Quentin Jackson, Patrick Williams, Jarris Walker, Paul Reed, Devin Carter, Micah Potter, and Nikola Jokic. Obviously subject to change pretty massively. And then don't forget, Stokastic Props tool is here. If you want to sign up and use the prop tool, the link is in the description. Whether you want to sign up for the prop tool, add that on, use our projections and our smart odds to create the best line for you. Edit individual players if you would like. Change their points rate, rebound rate, assist rate, threes rate, change their minutes. Get all the bets recalculated for you. And if you want the Sims, the tools that I'm sharing on this show constantly, you can sign up using the link in the description of this video. Sign up through one of our partners, either a pick'em site or a sportsbook. Either way, follow the instructions at the top of the page. You get 1 month free at Stokastic for every one of those offers you meet. You won't pay us at all, not a dime. You sign up for 3 of them, you don't pay us for 3 months. And you get some bonuses from wherever you sign up. It doesn't get much better than that. Later tonight, live before lock from 6 to 7 with my man Eric Lindquist. And then Greg Ehrenberg will be here from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock on a fantastic day for live after lock. Whether it's late swaps, whether it's props, Greg is going to find some stuff for you guys in that hour. It is going to be very busy. You do not want to miss it. But that's what I've got for you guys today. Lovely Wednesday. You will get me for the strategy show tomorrow, but that is it. No live before lock for me tomorrow. I'll let you guys in on a little secret about why I won't be on live before lock tomorrow. But I can tell you guys, it's the morning. I see you guys every day. Tomorrow morning, on the NBA strategy show, we'll be celebrating me. Tomorrow will be my 41st birthday. So took off for the night. Going to go out and have dinner with the wife in lieu of trying to go to a Valentine's Day dinner on Saturday, which would be impossible. Couples doing Valentine's Day is crazy. Been together for 17 years. We could eat on the 13th or the 15th or the 12th. But yeah, so tomorrow, no live before lock for me, but you do get me for the strategy show. We can celebrate tomorrow morning. I haven't even looked at the slate. What do we have tomorrow? Appreciate you guys. Well, thanks, NBA. What a reward. 3 games. Blazers, the Jazz on a back-to-back. Come on, man. I'm so happy I'm not around for that. What a terrible slate. 3 games. Bucks Thunder. The Bucks suck. The Thunder don't have Shea. And if you don't think the Thunder are sitting everybody tomorrow on a back-to-back against the Bucks before the All-Star break, you're crazy. Those dudes aren't showing up. No way. No way. Jazz are going to sit 1 billion people. Lakers probably normal, although Luka could sit. Who the hell knows what Portland and Dallas do? Well, I certainly don't feel bad about missing what's coming tomorrow. But I'll be here tomorrow breaking down those 6 teams. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys enjoy the day. Stay locked and loaded. As news pops up, you want to get into the props tool today and try to hit those bets as fast as you possibly can. It's a great day for betting. It's a great day for DFS. Don't sleep on it. Good luck. I'll talk to you.